What is the best financial advice you've ever received?
Invest in assets, not liabilities.
What is the worst financial advice you've ever received?
The way to build wealth is saving your money.
Third question, what is something you used to value that you don't anymore?
Material things.
What is something that you think people think is important when it comes to money, but you realize that's not really the right focus?
Net worth. Net worth is a crap indicator of real success.
Contentment might be the most powerful financial principle there is. When you're content, you can avoid debt. When you're content, you can get out of debt. When you're content, you have margin to be generous. When you're content, you have margin to invest. But when you're just consume, and you're just living in the basket of materialism, that's the opposite of contentment. You can't make enough money to live like that. You can't make enough money to out earn your stupidity. And so, this idea of it's going to be okay. It's just some stuff. Get you some stuff. We're not against stuff, but this idea that stuff is going to make you happy is a joke.
Yeah, and it's exhausting that race,
that pursuit
of it's constant because there's always going to be something, you guys. There's always going to be something.
Something my mentor told me that stuck with me, even though it was years ago, is that he who works all day has no time to make money. If you are relying on like an hourly pay to like make your way, you are cooked. And I'm not trying to like roast you, obviously. Like, I want you to succeed. That's why I'm telling you this. If you ever want to be a millionaire, even $500,000, think about I want you to look at your hourly wage right now. Say $500,000 and do the math. 500,000 divided by 15. You would have to work 33,000 hours. You would have to work 1,388 full days, bro.
I can't stand it when I see kids that are making 70 grand a year, spending $28 for lunch. I mean, that's just stupid. Think about that in the context of that being put into an index and making 8 to 10% a year for the next 50 years. Go into a closet. Go into your closet and look at how much you have you don't wear. Because you either bought it because you thought you were going to wear it and never wore it or wore it once, and you end up wearing 20% of your portfolio all of the time and 80% you pissed away.
I'm 54, and if you're younger than me, here's some really hard financial truths that are probably going to make you uncomfortable, but they just might save you. Your dream life is possible, but not with your current financial habits. If you need a payment plan to afford it, you can't afford it. You're not saving money when you buy something on sale. You still spent, you just spent less. If you don't control your money, someone else will. And guess what? They're not going to use it in your best interest. A credit card is not an emergency fund. If you don't take the time to understand money, you will spend your life working for someone who does. Financial stress, it's self-inflicted. You can't retire on vibes and optimism. You're going to have to work until you die if you don't start investing. Your bank account reflects your choices, not your excuses. You don't believe me? Take a look. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the life that you're building. What are you voting for? Security or poverty? You don't need a financial miracle. You need financial discipline. Stop praying for money and begin managing what you have. Your future is being sold off one impulse purchase at a time, and you will never escape the cycle of being broke until you admit that you are the problem. Hope that helps.
You only get in debt when you don't understand the breakdown of your finances. When you make money, split it in half. Create a account, call it the tax account. Put half of that there, so as you make money, you always put this money in the tax account. I never got to worry of giving the government their money, because that money's over there. I'm never going to touch that money, because it's not mine. So now off of my half, I'm going to take another half. This half is going over here. This half is for my next real estate investment. I'm only living off a quarter of my financial gain.
What's been the best financial advice that you've ever received throughout your career? Two things. I live and die by saying you should learn how to downgrade your lifestyle so you can upgrade your life. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. 1 in 4 millionaires still live paycheck to paycheck because they refuse to downgrade their lifestyle for a moment so they can upgrade their life. Now, if you decide to do that, then my second piece of advice is you should only dump money into 2 things: personal investment into you and investing into your company. That's it. You shouldn't be spending money anywhere else. If it's not to help you grow or your business grow, you should not be spending money until you have so much money that you don't know what to do with. The more money I put into me, the more money I make. The more money I put into my business, the more money my business makes. It's all about investing into 2 things: you and the business.
You know, Morgan, you make a huge distinction between being rich and wealthy. Can you walk us through the difference and why it matters?
I think if you are rich, that by my definition, that means that you have the money in the bank to buy the things that you want. You can make your mortgage payment, you can make your car payment, you can pay for your dinners out, whatever you want to do. That's rich. Wealthy is independent. It's money in the bank that you're not spending. It's things that you have not purchased. It's savings, it's investments that's sitting there, not being spent, but it's giving you independence. It's giving you financial independence and psychological independence, where you can live your life in your way without chasing what you think other people want out of you. And there's some pretty astounding examples of the 2 sides of the spectrum. I use this in the book, The Art of Spending Money. The Vanderbilt family was the richest family that the world had ever seen. Back in the 1800s, Cornelius Vanderbilt, if you adjust it for inflation, he had something like $500 billion was his net worth. And some of the other very wealthy families, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, did a pretty good job at giving most of their money away to charity. The Vanderbilts basically said, we're going to give it all to our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids, and their job is to live the biggest, most ostentatious life that you can possibly imagine. And the biographies that came from there of those Vanderbilt heirs would show, I think without exception, that every single one of them was miserable. These are, if you were a Vanderbilt heir in the early 1900s, the day that you were born, you got $500 million trust fund. And the only thing that was ever expected out of you in life was that you spend as big as you possibly can. And every single one of them was miserable. There's a book called Fortune's Children, written by one of the heirs. His name is Arthur Vanderbilt. And he talks about the history of his ancestors. And it is one of the saddest books I've ever read, because these people are people who maybe you and I and people listening would look at and say, you're so lucky. I can't believe how lucky you got. You just got $1 billion the day you were born. And you read it and you say, like, I would never want that life, because they were very rich. They were the richest people in the world, but they had no independence. Everything was dictated about, even including who they were allowed to marry. The Vanderbilts were the richest people in the world, and they had no wealth by my definition. They had no independence. They had no ability to live their own life. I think that's the difference between rich and wealthy.